Uh, Good evening. How do I get rid of that? Maybe I'll just stand over here. It's weird. Um, Hello. What did I do yesterday? Not too much, honestly. Oh, I went to spin class for the first time. Well, I'll say outside of school. I went to my first spin class. It was pretty fun. Not my type of thing. It was very hard, but not in the same way or in the right way that I want biking to be hard. I want it to be more like, I don't know. It's hard in a different way. I guess more like strength focus, I guess. Whereas I feel like biking is a little bit more endurance. Maybe I'm also just talking out of my ass. Um, so I went to that. I played video games. I cooked a lot, so much so that I washed dishes like 6 times yesterday. They were small batches, but I still washed it 6 times. Um, and yeah, that brings us to today. So what I do today, same thing, played games. I tried to read the book, The Wager. Um, and now I'm going to do my best to, well, it's weird because, I had originally mapped this out um, to doing like, oh, different chapter summaries, right? But so it goes chapter one, I get chapter two right here, right? But then it goes part two. I'm like, what? Oh my goodness, wait, have I just been, wait, what? Oh my goodness, wait, this is chapter three. Did I not read this chapter three? Did I not read chapter four? I just read that today. Okay, so there's part two, right? Oh, so I guess there is a chapter four. Well, that makes things a bit confusing because I didn't internalize it. Okay, well, let me go off with picking up from chapter two then. So, let's see, where was I? Where was I? Let's see if I can recall this. Um, so I think last time I talked about Jack or Bri Brian. Um, we're just learning about his time at the sea. Um, so it picks up talking about him, uh, talking about food, talking about a lot of different songs and the stories behind those songs. Um, it also starts to go into some of his hobbies. So him as a character starts developing. Um, you can see that within this paragraph, it says that he's artistic sensibility. I'm not sure what that means, but I think I get the vibe of it. Um, but then he kind of talks about going up to, I guess, at the top of the mast, like where the crow's nest is. I might be getting some of the words wrong, but he needed to change the sails, I believe. But obviously, if you go up there and you change it, there's no harness or anything like that. It's the 1700s. And so he just had to climb it, and I think that was one of his first tasks. And while it was scary for him, it was also really refreshing. Um, but what's funny is that there was a safe place, like safe way to go, right? The middle part has like a ladder or something like that. But if you go up that way, you're seen as a coward. But yeah, anyways, um, let's see, where am I? This was kind of confusing, and I feel like I need to reread that. But I think they go into some like hunting, some fighter or some fight with okay, I definitely need to reread this. I think I was like falling asleep because it talks of a man of war boat and them being chased, which is I think the wager. Yeah, yeah, the wager, the boat. So, chapter three. Chapter three is quite a blur. Quite a blur. Oh, actually, no, I do kind of remember this. So this kind of talks about the battle or their fight. Well, I don't know if it refers to their fight, but it talks about a fight, um, or a skirmish with another boat. And so, you know, different men are going to different levels of the boats and then firing. Like you put, I guess, powder into there, and then you shove a cannonball, and then you also have to light it at the same time, but you can't light it. Uh, like there's a certain way how to light it, and also to stay out of the recoil from the cannon because it like shoots back really fast. Um, I think it talks about how they also commanded that fight. Um, but maybe not. I think it was surrounded around the gunning of the skirmish itself. Um, towards the, I guess, end, the tail end of the chapter, which is where I do remember and where I started from today, is where they talk about like keeping logs. So obviously back then documentation was a little hard. Um, and the way that I think about it is like, okay, well, anybody can write in a notebook. If you just date something as a certain day, then can't you just lie? But apparently, uh, a lot of these logbooks um, would hold within court. Uh, careers and lives might depend on them. Just taking it from the exact book, but it's also very popular to keep um, adventure tales for the public. So, you know, if you're sailing, you find this land that nobody else has or something like that. It's pretty cool. Um, and especially if for whatever reason you do pass, then that book, I guess, remains and can get passed on. Somebody will find it eventually, maybe, if it doesn't fall in the water. But we follow this guy named Bull Bulkelly. Bulkelly? I think that's his name. Um, it's a little bit hard, but hard to say his name. I don't really know how to. Yeah, I don't really know how to say it. Um, we find out that I think he's in charge of the trial. I really gotta double check my learning on this, because I'm gonna have to skip quite ahead. Um, I'm gonna skip a few pages because I know, I know what happened. So the book kind of goes into disease. Um, so I think they have a bunch of ships. They have the Wager, a bunch of man of wars, and I think something called the Trial, Centurion as well. So they have about 2,000 people in total, and of that, about 5% perished. Like 5 to 10% perish. I think it's 165. Like that's quite a bit. Um, and they're having difficulty with like managing that because, everybody's getting sick. Everybody below the lower decks are getting sick. Um, and they obviously they have designated areas for like, oh, ship doctors and whatnot, but also they don't really know what it's, I think it's typhus or something like that. They know what it's from, but they don't know how to cure it or how they get it in the first place. And so they kind of need to figure that out, but they can't. So they just think, oh, it must be from the air. So I think a couple of them decide to cut a few holes in the boat to circulate the air a little better, but it doesn't really help. A lot of people end up perishing, end up dying, and one of those people is Captain Kidd, who is part of the wager. It's a little bit sad because he has a 5-year-old kid back at home that he won't be able to take care of no longer, and I think he's orphaned, but nonetheless. So they make it from Madeira, Madeira, Madeira to St. Catherine's Island, which is, I don't know if you can see this, but this big line. Um, it takes them about 6 weeks, and they're still dealing with disease. Um, but once they get there, they, you know, recover a little bit. They find a lot of medicinal or herbs or like plants, uh, which helps. It lets them like restock. Um, but again, disease is still running pretty rampant. Um, I think some also, what is it? There was also some skirmishing within that. It's like, I think word got out that Anson, who is also one of the higher ups as well, um, he was helping man 5 man of wars. And so the Portuguese decided to copy their symbol on their flags. It's very similar, uh, just to disguise themselves. So it tried to lure some ships closer, and one of the ships was looking for Captain Kidd's boat. He didn't know where it was. Uh, he found this, group of 5 boats and decided to go closer. They realized it wasn't him. They got in a little fight. They eventually got away, but I think they had to drop a lot of their, um, not luggage, but a lot of their rations in order to speed up the boat. Um, and because of that, that resulted in the declaration of Captain Kidd's death. I think there's like logs just saying, what he did in that time because he died due to illness. Um, but eventually it was passed over to David Cheap. And that's kind of where, not where it picks off, but it kind of goes into what kind of leadership is he going to, like he has this new crew. He's stepping into a role of higher power. So how is he going to lead that? Is he going to lead it with an iron fist, or is he going to try to be sympathetic to a lot of people and try to help out? At least that's how I took it. Um, we go into some of the problems when navigating different waters, as well as also just navigating around the world. So within here, the big part is latitudinal lines and longitudinal lines. Latitudinal lines, the ones that run, wait, sorry, longitudinal lines, which run parallel to the equator, are a lot easier to navigate. However, longitudinal lines, which are up and down, which kind of go with time zones, that one is very, very hard, And so it kind of goes into, how do we accurately like see these things? They're the stars, and obviously they use that to help them longitudinally, but they can't really do that as well. Or sorry, yeah, latitudinally, but they can't do that when it comes to longitude. And so it's very hard. They have a method, but it's pretty crude in comparison. Um, let's see. It talks about the Drake Passage, which is this little part down here, and they talk about how they're going to navigate that. And I think the best times to go around that. Um, Things have different problems, and I think it's just identifying which one is the best given the information that they have. Uh, I kind of know it's going to be set up for disaster. I mean, pretty frequently do they mention, like, oh yeah, it's a book about shipwreck, mutiny, um, and whatnot. And so it's very interesting to see these characters be developed, and also just how they kind of set the stage. I guess it's hard because I don't really remember too much. And so I'll probably either need to reread it or just take a quiz to see what's up, because most of chapter 3 was a little bit of a blur. Um, yeah, that's pretty much all. The other thing is Hey Mama by Kanye West is very good. Um, yeah, that's all. All right. Thank you for coming to my well, I don't know about book review, but my reading log. Okay. So yeah.